Hello everybody and welcome to the next episode of Secret Mana. In this episode, we're gonna go back to Sage Jocks and figure out what's going on. Maybe he's there now. There's a little bit of backstory, if you talk to these guys, the, knights. I'll start talking about a knight who looks an awful lot like the main character, named Saren. Granted, this game is a sequel, which I actually did not know for a long time. It's a sequel to a Final Fantasy title. The Sage Jocks place. Again, really good idea to have the axe because of all the crit damage it's doing to animals and beasts and whatnot. Like, it's good to level up your weapons, I think, as much as you can comparatively to magic, because I think eventually weapons do more damage than magic. I mean, you kind of get that from Yudin when she's talking about it. But eventually your weapon levels will become so great that leveling them and magic at the same time would be quite hard. Because you only get weapon levels, which I think I've already stated, but I'm gonna say it again. You only get weapon levels if you actually hit an enemy before the enemy, dies. So basically, if your allies do not hit an enemy before it dies, they won't get any experience or a very small amount of XP to the point where it's not worth mentioning. So keep that in mind when you're going through the game that, you know, your weapon levels are going to be harder to level up because of that, because eventually, it's not like in the beginning where it was a lot easier for everyone to hit the enemy before it died, but now you see, like, one hit from this and a whack, and I would have just, plain out, straight out killed it without them even hitting it once. I love mountains climbing. Anything? I'll even save your game. I think it's a good idea to save here, because that dungeon I was talking about, yeah, that's right up the corner. But yeah, and you know, reiterating back to what I said before, so I don't lose track. Because you have to hit the enemy in order to gain weapon experience. That means if you're training physical attack, or not physical attack, magic, but magic attack, magic, which is kind of obvious for, you know, magic being magic attack, but anyway, every time you hit an enemy with that, or are in an enemy zone, you get extra XP, and instead of the normal amount. And Aster can only fight in enemy zones with his magic. I don't think he has a single friggin' magic type that can work on a person instead of enemies. So, what does this allude to, you may ask? Well, that means that to level both your physical and your magical at the same time, you would have to basically do twice the amount of farming for each. Because you'd have to do farming for magic to try to get your magic level up, and then you'd have to do farming for physical attacks to get physical attacks up, because there's no way you can level both at the same time. And I was relatively on the top of my levels, but if you look at them now, it's quite behind. And leveling your magic is kind of worse. I mean, you'd have to, like, really farm for that. And I have gotten the max level of magic on every single one, and I can tell you from experience of doing that, don't do that on your first playthrough or any playthrough, otherwise you'll be burnt out. What I suggest to everyone for doing your magic, because now we have a lot of spirits, pick whichever spirit you really like. Like, you like the way that they work, you like their buffs, and up them, aside from, you know, of course, Undine, because you're always going to use that a lot, because otherwise you won't be able to beat the game, I don't think, without that heal. But yeah. Every other sprite, other than Undine, I have honestly never used or found a reason to use it, especially Gnome on Opal. Just because eventually you're gonna get so high leveled to try to fight these enemies because, you know, there's a huge difficulty curve that you're gonna have to try to get over, that you won't really need the magic from any of these. Not too much, anyway. But the one I do suggest leveling, though, highly, if you want to beat some bosses really freaking quickly, is Aster's, and that's mainly because Aster is much easier to level. In fact, you could probably max all of Aster's in a couple hours. Like, Aster's very, very good and fast at that, but Opals are so freaking slow. Like, I think I maxed every one of Aster's things in half the time it took me to max Opals. Hey, get out of here! Not in it again. Sageness will see. Who are you? Such his reverence, Jock. I'm his disciple, Jack. Sengoku. That speaks in the old tongue, allow me. Let's undergo the test. Conquer the ones within and you'll find courage. Try. Alright, good luck. So, this is the area I was talking about. The devastating area. That if you're not prepared, you're just gonna die. So he uses wall there, which means you can only use physical attacks. And I figure I might as well, switch them over to more powerful attacks because we're starting to get into enemies that will not be affected by just level 1, or in this case, 100% attacks. So what wall does... Oh wow, that almost killed me. Wall is a reflective magic type. And if you use any magic against it, it will reflect back to you, or anyone randomly. That includes enemies. So just keep that in mind when you come through here. These are the enemies that will probably give people the most trouble, and that's shapeshifters. Because they're really strong, and a lot of people have problems with them. But I personally think that they're relatively easy. Just know that in order to hit them, you have to charge up your attacks to at least, I think, level 4 before you can actually strike them. Because they have a high evade rating. Shapeshifters, I believe, are in every Mana game, but in this one, they're much worse. But again, I highly suggest trying to take these guys out if you can. See, that's how you take out a shapeshifter. Because some people could be perfectly fine for this part of the game, but not realize how to take out enemies, and then consider the game frustrating because of that. I've heard some people say that. No, you just actually have to realize that eventually in the game, you're gonna have to start using your charge attacks more frequently in fights, and, at a certain level as well, before they'll actually strike. But continuing on, this is one area that frustrates a lot of people. Like, there's a huge difficulty curve, in other words. But I personally relatively like this area, mainly because you can keep coming back here and there will always be these really strong enemies for you to fight in case you need to level up. Before a quick battle or something like that, or a boss. Exploders are really freaking strong, though. Or you don't. Also, if you have an ability to make someone go unconscious, or confused, or, you know, ballooned, that's a very good ability to have right now. Master's weapon skill up. Sword reaches level 5. Alright, I still have to level that, but I think he's maxed that out now. This is also, like I said, a very good place for leveling weapons, because they're really strong, so you're gonna just start leveling them like right in here, but there's a lot of them. You could technically, you know, level your weapons on really, like, easy to kill enemies, because that would be really freaking fast, but I wouldn't suggest that for a few reasons. Oh no, I'm put to sleep, and I'm probably dead. Oh no, that canceled the other out. That one probably didn't. I'm alive! Not anymore. I guess you don't have to worry too much about dying here, because the boss of this particular area, in my opinion, is pretty easy. Now, the quick leveling. Now, what else he's got? Let's see, he's close to leveling the Cobra Shuttle. I think I'll switch him to that. His poison should be really helpful here, too. That dude eats magic. We already went over that, but we didn't actually get to see him consume magic. He consumes magic the same way that Aster does. Also, by the time that you get Luna, you no longer have to worry about magic loss with Aster. Because Aster will have just so much magic gaining potential that, he won't, because he'll be able to heal his own magic, you don't have to worry about magic walnuts on Aster anymore. Also, there's no loss to, using, that ability, because he will always at least gain 1 magic. And all bosses have a limit on magic, so you could very well easily, just keep using that ability and run a boss out of magic, and then they can't use any more magic on you. Which I have done that before. You can take a boss fight as well long enough to survive all the magical effects that they have. And that's that. Oh crap, she was just out of magic. One thing that I will say that kind of sucks is that Opal has no such ability to recover from magic. So the healer, you're gonna have to constantly use them on her. So I guess in that aspect, it's a lot easier to do fights, because you don't have to worry about the sprite with magic. So you have 4 more magic walnuts, and instead of splitting them 2 by 2, or both of them, you can split them by, just use them all on Opal now. Armor Blue gets whacked. 2 of them. Also, at the end of the game, I always find myself really close to level 50. I would suggest, leveling up to that, or higher. Oh, hey, we're here. It begins when and you pass the test. Yeah, you have to fight yourselves. Okay, Rare Buster is still leveling up. Slow down. And they're actually relatively quick to dodge. They only actually have, as far as I'm aware, they only have level 5? Magical tribute, or not magical tribute, physical attack tribute. And because of that, at the point you are at, or at least I'm at, they're very easily dodgeable. Like so. Axe you. I always find it funny to come in here with opposite weapons than what they have. Because you're supposed to... Well, I don't know if you're supposed to, but... You can just equip the base weapons for them for the entire game, and there will be no problem with that. You can use the sword for Levi, you can use the spear... Or not the spear, the gloves on her, you can use the boomerang on him. Like, you don't have to switch your weapons at all to win the game. Like, you don't. The game's relatively easy in that aspect. But... And I have done that, because at one point, like, funny story number 543, I did that as a kid, and that's not recommended. But you can do it. Just not recommended. Not for me, anyway. You can't dodge my attacks, that's illegal. Now I stab myself in the back with an axe. But if you go to leave, you're back out here. We won! Where's Jock? Well done. When you put your hearts together, nothing can stop you. You'll master the sword by joining courage, knowledge, and love. I'm Jock. The old man was an illusion. Why didn't you help us sooner? You weren't ready yet. Your ears could hear, but not your heart. I waited for you to find your inner strength. Go now. The Emperor seeks to raise the sunken land. Top the coral, and you'll find the Tree Palace. Below lies the Mana Fortress. And evil seeks the seals. Hurry! So, yeah. I don't really get why the Tree Palace is above the sea, but... And not in a forest, but... You know, maybe it's not supposed to make sense. I love the axe. It just has such a high power rate that it just destroys everything in its path. And with that, though, I think we should end this off here. On the next episode, or so I should say, of Secret Mana, we'll go to that undersea palace and figure out what's going on with the Emperor and finally maybe put an end to things. See you guys then.